County, we know how much people want to help, what a welcoming community it is. We also know that Madison had some resources. I mean, much more than many of the people we end up working with. The problem we have is the connection, this equation in between the two. The only way to get these two things together are trained immigration lawyers. And in the whole state of Wisconsin right now, there are maybe 12 lawyers who do deportation work. So if you get picked up for deportation and you end up going to court, there are 12 lawyers in a state of, 8 million people? Ridiculous. 5 million? Okay. That's ruining my equation. But yeah, a lot. But they're not, and 6 of them are paid for lawyers. And that means, this whole state, there's probably like 7 or 8 lawyers who do it for less money or pro bono. We have 5 of them in Madison. So it's amazing that we have it. But the reason it's ended up like that is because the immigration court is in Chicago. So you have to go there for your hearings. So now, because of COVID, some of the preparatory hearings happen online, but that's why we never built up representation here. But you can see in the news, Chicago, it is hitting the fan, right? I mean, ICE has started there, people are overwhelmed already, there are not enough lawyers. So our problem here is we just don't have enough trained people. The UW Law School, we started a clinic, CILC helped start a clinic there 10 years ago, and now there are people coming out of there like Aisa, and like all but one of our lawyers who are here, one of them went to Minnesota, but we don't give her too much trouble, that they're training lawyers how to do this, because I mean, it's hard even to follow Aisa sometimes on what she's talking about, like all these things that can happen, and people are like, I don't even understand how it is that you can get picked up for deportation, don't you just get deported? And we can't go through the whole thing here, but there are a couple things that happen. I'm just trying to explain how complicated it is. People who have lived here for a long time with green cards, for example, which means you can stay forever. Sometimes they get caught up in some sort of problem, whatever it might be, a lot of traffic tickets. It could be DUI, it could be passing a bad check. The things that people get arrested for and pay their dues, depending on what it is, you can get deported for that. So that's one reason. Sometimes it's not a deportable offense, but if you don't have a lawyer, you end up there with your 4% chance of success, and you will be deported. I mean, 4% is just like they get lucky. And then there are people who are undocumented, and you say, well, how did they not end up getting deported? There are many defenses to deportation. So on one side is maybe you're not even deportable, and on the other side, there are defenses to it. The best known one is asylum. We can't send people back. We sign treaties that say we can't send people back to countries where they will be persecuted because of their race, religion, their political beliefs, membership in a particular social group. Obviously, they're probably going to turn that down a little bit with this new administration, but there are other programs. If you've been here for 10 years undocumented and you have a kid who's going to experience extremely unusual hardship, if they were deported along with you, we can get them to stay. There are other things that Aisa showed up there, temporary protected status, victims of violence. It goes on, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you have to know each thing. So what I'm getting at is we just need more lawyers. And of course it would be a lawyer who would tell you that, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. But it is just a matter of doing that. And so in a certain way, it feels kind of bad to say we need money. But what I have learned now, and what we learned in the last terrible administration, was this 4% and 48% thing. We learned 2 really important things from that. The first one was half of the people were being deported who shouldn't have been. We're not even talking about, people not getting resources. I mean, the law, if it had been applied, they would not have been deported. So that was number 1. But number 2 was we can do something about it. And that is what the empowering thing is that Sarita was talking about, that we can be part of it. And I used to be kind of timid about this. And now I realize what a gift it is that Aisa and her colleagues are doing this for our community, and how much it means to us to give $10, to give $100, or to have a house party and get one of us or somebody from our board to come and tell them, because I think people don't know that it's going on. And this is the time to let people know how this community can stand up. If we have lawyers who can represent them, it's going to get worse for sure. But we can make a difference here for ourselves, our community, kids in schools, People can go to hospitals, the people who we work with, we don't even know who the undocumented people are. So I've changed my mind about this completely. And I will ask every one of you to give a little bit of money so that we can keep them doing this, or to introduce us to people. Jeff has been awesome because he's helping us introduce to community groups. If you're in a community group, if you could let me come and talk to your faith group where you go, we will come and do that just to tell people about what it is, because I know that we could hire 10 more lawyers in Madison and make an unbelievable amount of difference. It costs about $5,000 to represent a family in immigration proceedings for those 3 or 4 years. On the private side, if you did that, it could be $15,000 or $20,000. But we keep the cost very low. We have offices here at CPC. We don't pay for a lot of the things that we have. So we can do it very efficiently and effectively because they're super good at what they do. So if you think about it just from an analytical or financial perspective, every time we raise $10,000, we save a family from being deported. $10,000 is a lot of money, but it's a very complicated system, and we have the kind of community that can do it. So I'm happy to ask people for money now because I know I see these lawyers doing it, and I know that we can make this difference now when it's going to be needed more than it ever has. If there are things on there that you think you can do for volunteering, that's awesome too. There's also a program of driving people to immigration court, or if they have to go to the immigration office for interviews in Milwaukee. We have a program that through the Dane Sanctuary movement. So there are opportunities, but really we got to hire some more lawyers. And that's the end of my pitch here. And I suppose, I don't know, Sarita or somebody else, if people want to ask questions for a minute, or if you want to jump into it.
Yes, let's do Q&A.
Okay.